Over the past year, hundreds of videos of forced conscription in Ukraine have appeared in the internet. The organization that is responsible for this is called TCC or TCK, Territorial Complectation Center. In many of these videos, TCK are beating up men, and unfortunately YouTube is not allowing such videos, so I posted them in my Telegram channel. And this is a pure terror. TCK are acting without any law, they are using handcuffs and zip ties. This began 2 years ago, in 2023, before counteroffensive, and at first it was only in Russian-speaking cities, like Odessa and Kharkov, but then TCK started to act in all regions of Ukraine. Mobilized men are being sent to the front line almost immediately. Ukrainian borders are closed for men over 18, so it's almost no way to escape from this free democratic state. But before going to this video, I want to remind you that this channel is only sponsored by you, so if you want to help me to make more videos, link is in the description, and I'm really grateful to people who are supporting me. TCK are trying to draft as many men as possible, and they have no restrictions, so there are dozens of horrible cases. For example, in October 2023, TCK kidnapped a man from Odessa with an epilepsy, and he died because he didn't have medicines. There was a case, also in Odessa region, when they took 14-year-old boy and zip-tied him, and when they understood that he is underage, they freed him and left him 10 kilometers away from his town. Sometimes people taken by TCK are dying because of beating. Recruiters are often using spikes to block the cars of their victims. And patrols of TCK are literally everywhere on the streets of all big cities of Ukraine. They are searching everywhere, and there are even videos where they are stopping public transport, like buses and trams. And I've seen dozens of videos where TCK are conflicting with relatives of mobilized men who are trying to stop them. TCK workers don't usually care, but sometimes it works. There are plenty of human rights violations. There were cases when lawyers who came to return illegally mobilized men were beaten. There is at least one confirmed case when TCK used firearm against civilian. Later I will tell you about the resistance of Ukrainian people against TCK. Once a woman posted a video where she said that the military forcibly took her husband away from a checkpoint in Transcarpathia, and later she was forced to publish video where she is apologizing. By the way, in the first video she spoke Russian, in the second Ukrainian language. I think if I would make more detailed video about this mess, it would be a few hours long. Unfortunately now I don't have a time for such video. It's funny that West managed to convince people that Russia has forced mobilization, despite now Russia has no mobilization at all. There was a mobilization in Russia in 2022 autumn, but it was soft and within the law. In 2022 February in DPR there was forced mobilization, but I never heard about such insanity. No one kidnapped people, and there was no violence. And both in Russia and in DPR, mobilization ended in October 2022, 2.5 years ago. But let's return to Ukraine. Since 2022, many Telegram channels have appeared that are monitoring movements of TCK in different Ukrainian cities, so you can go for a walk with less risk. New word has appeared, busification, from Russian word busik, which means minivan, that TCK are usually using. Of course, there are some really funny things related to this mobilization. For example, in one of Ukrainian schools, children staged a sketch with TCK. Some teachers were fired, of course. Many Ukrainian soldiers do not wear uniform in cities anymore to avoid association with TCK. But now let's talk about ways to avoid mobilization. Most obvious way to avoid being sent to the front line is to hide and to stay home. It's working if TCK don't have your address, but otherwise there is a chance that they will come for you to your home. By the way, the word ухилянт, which means draft dodger in Ukrainian, became a meme, and there are even some songs about ухиляns. Some ухиляns are escaping to Chernobyl. There is an info that the population of the Chernobyl exclusion zone has grown by 135,000 people. Since Ukraine is extremely corrupted, rich people or people who have rich relatives cannot be afraid of TCK. Most of rich Ukrainians just given huge bribes, so they and their relatives are not getting sent to the front line. And of course, TCK is the best place to earn huge amount of money. There was a case when a man who was brought to the recruitment office by force had stolen 27,000 euros from the table of director and then escaped through the window. Director said that these money were intended to be spent on drones for Ukrainian army and that wasn't a bribe. People are also paying crazy money to doctors so they can be free from mobilization. And the border of Ukraine is closed for men of military age, but of course there are some ways to escape Ukraine by crossing the border illegally. The most obvious way is to buy some papers that are allowing you to do this. It's expensive. From what I heard, it costs around $15,000 and there are no guarantees at all. Some people are hiding in cargo vehicles. It's also expensive and I've seen a couple of videos where border guards found them. But the most dangerous way is to cross the border on your own. The river between Ukraine and Romania, named Tisa, became infamous. There is an information that around 22,000 of Ukrainians swam across it, and little less than 14,000 of them did this in 2024. Dozens of men drowned there, mostly because of Ukrainian border guards who are shooting on sight. And here you can see a barbed wire on the riverbank of Tisa. Ukraine really looks like a concentration camp. There are some other directions to escape, to Moldova or even to Belarus, despite the border with Belarus is being well guarded. There are channels on YouTube who covering this topic, Alex1860 and Eurocustom. Both have a lot of videos and stories about men who escaped the Ukraine by crossing border on foot. Some people are escaping other ways, like a welder who walked on a bridge between Hungary and Ukraine. He cut a hole in the bridge and escaped to Hungary. And some of Ukrainian soldiers who were trained in Europe just disappeared. Now let's talk about resistance of Ukrainian people. Sometimes relatives and friends of men who already were taken by TCK stormed TCK buildings and freed conscripts. Once in Odessa, a driver of ambulance was kidnapped by TCK and his colleagues literally fought to free him from the recruitment center. Unfortunately, I can't add videos with fights. There were attacks on TCK workers, sometimes even with firearms. And there were also a couple of explosions in TCK buildings. The most important thing is that people are burning TCK and Ukrainian military cars. There are a few hundreds of cases, some with video confirmation. Many of these arsons were organized by pro-Russian partisans, but some are by people who just want to live. There is much more to tell and to show, but it's hard for me to make this video. Despite Ukraine is no longer my country, I lived there for most of my life, and it's sad that such a terror is happening there. At least in the liberated territories, there is nothing like this. Please share this video in your media. I hope it was interesting for you. If it was, you can support me by leaving a like, a comment, or sending me a donation by the link in the description. Thanks for watching.